A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. In the name of Allah, the most kind, the most merciful. All praise is due to Allah. Seek help from Him. Ask forgiveness from Him and look for His guidance. We seek protection with Allah against our evil selves and our wrong deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides, none can misguide him, and whomsoever Allah abandons, none can guide him. We testify that there is no God but Allah. He is the one that has no partner. We testify that Muhammad is his slave and his messenger, the best of the messengers, the last prophet, and a mercy for the universe. And may Allah bless him and his pure holy household, whom Allah himself has kept away from all abomination and purified them in the best manner. I advise you, O slaves of Allah, and myself, to exercise the awareness of Allah and fear of displeasing Allah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. If I were to clean my room, if it was dirty and I am to clean it, then that would remove the fact that it is dirty. It can't be called dirty and clean at the same time. Once the filth is completely removed, then it cannot be called dirty anymore. It can only be called dirty if there's still a mess inside of it. If I were to hide the filth under a blanket and put it in the corner or under my bed, that does not call and make it clean. In that case, it's still dirty. It's just the dirt and the nastiness is hidden. Or, for example, if I were to turn a light on inside of a room and it's not dark in that room, even if the light is dim, the darkness is gone. The light is in the room and you can see based on the amount of that light. You can't have the light on and off at the same time. Either there's light or there's no light. Let's put it in the sense or in the perspective of a programmer, where there's the programmer, there's the code, and the program. If a programmer makes a code and there's an error in that code, then there will be an error in the program. And such, it cannot work properly in that case, in that area, until that program is fixed and that error is corrected. He can also either fix the error, or if there is no error, he can still continue to improve it by adding or subtracting things that may or may not need to be there. Human beings are similar. We have the Prophet and his pure holy progeny. We have the Quran and the way of the Prophet, the way that he lived, the Sunnah and the Hadith, and we have the harmony that comes as a result of the pure lifestyle that he lived. The Prophet and his progeny being the the programmers, the Quran, the words, and the way of life that he lived, his Sunnah being the code, and the program being the harmony. When we live according to the principles and values that the Prophet and his household lived upon, then that harmony is free of error. But when we have love for this dunya, this worldly life that is temporary, you'll see that there's an error in the code. It is such the same that we will have a disease in that case, because what we have is something temporary. If we're talking about the fulfillment of life, we cannot be fulfilled if we have something that isn't to last forever. If we submit to Allah and hear His law, then so long as it is pleasing to Allah and it is His words and His law, then we will have that fulfillment. If we hear Allah and His law and we don't submit, anything other than Allah, anything that doesn't come from Allah is temporary, because it is from a temporary source that has been given free will to create it. La hawla wa la quwwata. There's no power or strength except that it belongs to Allah. And if Allah has given that free will to a created being, then such can be the case. Now, that's all to come to La ilaha illallah, that being similar, the same way that we cannot have a light on and off at the same time, or a room that's dirty and clean at the same time, and we can't have a fulfilling harmony and a disrupted harmony at the same time. It's the same way that we can't say that Allah is the one and only God without saying that there is no God. La ilah comes first. First we say there is no God, and then we get to accept Allah, the glory and great. When the Prophet was given permission by Allah to start teaching and spreading Islam to the people who were ruling over the area at that time said, yes, we don't have a problem. You can say Islam is a religion, and if Allah is the God of that religion, we can give him a place in the Kaaba amongst the other idols, amongst the other gods. But we know Allah is not an idol or temporary. Allah is the deity, the God. Now, because of the structure of Islam, is that acceptable? It's not. It is not acceptable. The heavenly religion cannot be established if there are more than one God. the building that the Prophet's predecessors, I could say, although the light of Muhammad was created before any other thing, but still, the prophets who were a prophet before Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him's physical creation, and he became a prophet, peace be upon him, in his pure holy household. You had Prophet Abraham and his son, Prophet Ismail, peace be upon them. They built the Kaaba. And this Kaaba is the house of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. This being the house of Allah, it can't be the house of Allah and the house of that which is not holy at the same time. Meaning to say, it can't be the house of the true God and then house of false gods. That doesn't work. It can't have holiness and unholy in it. That's like trying to have the light on and off at the same time. It's the same that when you have something that Allah created naturally filthy, like a dog, come inside of the room, the angels will leave and be scarce of that room. That being the case, lights can't be on and off at the same time. You have to have rejected other gods, any false gods, before you accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to. You cannot have polytheism and monotheism simultaneously. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be seen. He isn't physical. Allah is not physical, nor is he limited to male or female. We should understand that if we don't, when we say he, it is in respect of language. Though we can say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Irregardless, when it comes down to Allah, of course we know that we cannot accept Allah while accepting something temporary. In the same way, to get something eternal, we have to give up on the temporary. We cannot see al-basir if our gaze is only shifted on that which causes our vision to be blind. Ad-dunya. We cannot get al-wasi'a, the immense, if we're not giving up on that which constrains us. The same way we can't get al-jamia, the gatherer, if we're focused and working towards that which scatters and disperses and divides. To get fulfillment of Allah, the glory and great, we would have to give up on that which is empty without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To get the light, one has to give up on darkness, and to get cleanliness, one has to give up on filth. To get clarity, intoxication cannot be present. And one has to continue striving for truth, even when falsehood is widespread. In the same way, you have to trade and join the things of life in order to enjoy life itself. When we don't enjoy life because we only enjoy the things in life, then we'll see that when the things in life are gone and they go away, then we will get sad and we will get depressed. If we enjoy the life that only can come from the giver of life, Al-Muhyi, then we will see that life is going to be fulfilling irregardless of what Allah gives us and what Allah takes from us. Because why? Allah does that which pleases Him. And if it pleases Allah, then there's should be our pleasure as well if Allah wills. How would we not have the most holy, the pure one's pleasure if we're living a life of filth? It's quite simple and quite clear actually, except to those who are on the path of delusion. This is the return. And so, if we're attached to the things of this world, then by the time that they go away, if we die in that state where we're still only giving victory to the temporary, then we're as good as doomed. That is the way of a disbeliever, a kafir. So when we return to Allah, whom which a disbeliever disbelieves in, and we haven't repented and returned and turned back to Him before our life was taken, then that shows our fate. There was a story of a man who used to go to the tower to call the adhan. If I'm not mistaken, this was back then because they didn't have speakers. So a person would have to get up really, really high and then call the adhan so that everybody can hear it. And he used to go up there and call the adhan plenty. One day, his life was becoming forfeit. And when he was dying, they were telling him to give the kalima La ilaha illallah. But the words couldn't come out his mouth. Why could it not come out his mouth before he died, and such that he dies as a kafir? Well, they had the next person go up to the top of the tower to give the adhan because they had to replace him, of course. They had to fill the position. And so when the person went up, he came down immediately. He couldn't call the adhan. Why? Because there was a temptation. When he goes up to the tower, he's able to see inside of a woman's house where there's ladies in there who are bihijabbed. And he's looking at the beauty of a woman who is not of his honor, such that he couldn't call the adhan. The last person, however, couldn't even give the kalima before his death. And so he died the death of a kafir. If you see a person who gives victory to Allah, as opposed to a person who does not give victory to Allah, a person who does not is controlled by their emotions. A person who does controls their emotions. So if a person who does not, they get miserable and start welling out of control. That storm is not for Allah's pleasure, and it cannot be controlled because it is not being helped by the one who is dominant over everything. Though on the other hand, for a person who gives victory to Allah, they have the help of Allah, the glory and great, the victorious. Then whether they're crying, they're still joyful. If they're crying for Master Al-Hussein, peace be upon him, it's tears of joy that there was success, that he died giving victory to Allah even through all of that hardship that he went through. If they're angry, their anger is for Allah's sake. It's not because their ego was hurt. A person who gives victory to Allah can be insulted from day to nighttime, but once they hear that which insults Allah, then you see they can't hold back. And even if they die on that, they died with honor because they gave victory to Allah. And Allah is the one in control. If they're happy, they're joyful, whatever emotions, whatever form the storm may take, the happiness is there. The joy is there, the fulfillment is there, because that life is being lived only for the sake of that Lord, of the Lord who is high and mighty and who is As-Samad, the Eternal. And whatever is to come, Allah knows the intention of the person, and Allah is not a tyrant. So even if he tests his servants and his slaves, it is only to remove that arrogance so that they can enjoy more pleasure of Allah and gain that nearness to Allah, which they strive for so diligently. May Allah bless the Prophet, his daughter Fatima, and the 12 leaders from his family, one by one, who is Ali ibn Abi Talib, Hussein ibn Ali, Hassan ibn Ali, Ali ibn al-Hussein, Muhammad ibn Ali, Ja'far ibn Muhammad, Musa ibn Ja'far, Ali ibn Musa, Muhammad ibn Ali, Ali ibn Muhammad, Hassan ibn Ali. And may Allah bless our master, the proof, the son of Al-Hassan, the master of our time, who will come and erase the signs of wrong, innovation and rebellion, destroy the foundation of polytheism and hypocrisy, and get rid of the harvest of dissension and division. May Allah hasten his reappearance. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر كذلك الله صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم.